everyone. I am here today as someone, an individual, who has lost several friends, dear friends, to addiction. I am also here as someone who had the good fortune this spring in Atlanta to meet several members of the FedUp family at the Prescription Drug Abuse Conference. And they were kind enough to invite me to be here today. I am also here in my capacity as Senior Director of Justice for Vets. Justice for Vets is the only national organization dedicated to the expansion and coordination of veterans treatment courts nationwide. My name is Melissa Fitzgerald, and I have had the good fortune to have a career as an actor prior to being Senior Director of Justice for Vets. And I was lucky enough to be part of several high-profile projects. Probably the most well-known was I spent 7 years on the television series The West Wing. One of the best parts of being part of an iconic television show is that I am given the opportunity to speak about and shine a spotlight on the issues and the causes that I care most deeply about. None of which is more important to me than serving as an advocate for our nation's veterans, especially those who are struggling when they come home. One of the best parts of my job this past year, almost a year, it's been 11 months, has been being able to travel around the country and visit veterans treatment courts and be part of many graduations where lives are being restored. Children are going home to their parents. Parents are going home to their children. One of the very first veterans I met who was participating in a veterans treatment court in my home state of Pennsylvania is a young man named Chuck, and I have his permission to share his story. In fact, he encourages me to share his story because he credits veterans treatment courts with saving his life. And he wants to make sure that every single veteran gets the same chance that he got. A chance for treatment, a chance for restoration, a chance to live a productive and healthy life. Chuck signed up to serve after 9/11, and he went to Iraq. He returned home and had no idea that he had PTSD. He just knew that he had high anxiety. He couldn't be in a room with people. He couldn't get into bed at night. He'd wake up screaming in the middle of the night. He lost his job. He lost his girlfriend. He got kicked out of his parents' home, and he was addicted. He told me that one night he walked into a bar, and he woke up and he was behind bars. And he said that was the best thing that ever happened to him because he never would have sought treatment on his own. The criminal justice system was the intervention point that he needed to save his life. Being arrested afforded him the opportunity to be part of a veterans treatment court program in Pennsylvania. And he was part of that program for nearly 3 years, where he was offered the opportunity for treatment and accountability. And through his hard work and a program that works, Chuck graduated, and I was able to attend his graduation a couple months ago. Chuck is married, Chuck has a son, and Chuck has a job. And Chuck's brother, his best friend in the world, followed him to Iraq and returned home also with post-traumatic stress disorder. He had a different outcome than Chuck. He was self-medicating with drugs, and he OD'd and died. And Chuck said, if I hadn't been in a veterans treatment court program at that time, I would have followed him to the grave. At Justice for Vets, it is our mission to put a veterans treatment court within reach of every veteran in need. Veterans treatment courts ensure that when our veterans struggle with the transition home, and become involved in the criminal justice system because of a mental health and or substance abuse issue, disorder, they receive the structure, the treatment, and the mentoring they need to get their lives back on track. Tragically, hundreds of thousands of our veterans are suffering from the trauma of war, returning home with post-traumatic stress, major depression, and traumatic brain injury. Some are medicating with drugs and alcohol to cope. And as we all know, this can lead to unemployment, homelessness, arrest, or worse. Research continues to draw a link between combat-related trauma and unprecedented numbers of our veterans currently facing charges stemming directly from these issues. Far too many veterans are ending up in the criminal justice system as a result of their service. Well over 700,000 of them. 81% of justice-involved veterans had a substance abuse problem prior to incarceration, and 25% were identified as mentally ill. Unless we use the criminal justice system as a form of intervention, we will lose these men and women forever. And it doesn't have to be this way. There is a better way, and it's treatment in veterans treatment courts. At Justice for Vets, we believe that every veteran should have the opportunity for treatment and restoration. And instead of languishing behind bars, veterans treatment courts connect our veterans to the treatment they need, the services they've earned, and the supports they deserve. I am happy to say that as I stand here, over 10,000 veterans are receiving life-saving treatment in Veterans Treatment Court instead of being behind bars. And I thank you for the platform that says allocate more funding for evidence-based treatment and prevention programs, especially to communities hit hardest by the epidemic, including our military service personnel and veterans. Thank you for that, FedUp, and for everything. We all know that the criminal justice system has failed too many addicts. We all know that. But there is a light. And it is shining brightly in places all over this country. And that light, one of those places where that light is shining brightly, is in veterans treatment courts all over this nation. In 2008, the very first veterans treatment court was launched in Buffalo, New York. And there are now over 200 veterans treatment courts around the country, with hundreds more in the works. That is good news. We need over 2,000 to reach every veteran in need. And I ask that we all commit to making that happen, in addition to the many other things that we are committing to making happen today, to make this a better country for all of us, including our veterans. In Veterans Treatment Court, treatment is the solution. And we will not rest until there is a Veterans Treatment Court within reach of every veteran in need. Justice for Vets is a division of the National Association of Drug Court Professionals. And we applaud you at FedUp for all you are doing to be a bright light for individuals and for families who need to know that there's a bright light out there. At National Association of Drug Court Professionals and Justice for Vets, we applaud you, we thank you, and we stand beside you. Thank you.